trigonometry from the absolute basics. So I've got a right angled triangle, and most of this trigonometry will only work in these right angled triangles to begin with. So here's the right angle, and the first thing we want to do is actually just label the sides of the triangle. Now the biggest side, we've already learned this from Pythagoras, is opposite the right angle, and it's got the name hypotenuse from the Greek. So that's hypotenuse. And we don't want to write that every time, so we're just going to label that with an H. Now we need an angle to label the other sides. These names will change depending on where the angle is. So I'm going to put an angle here, and I'm going to use a Greek letter called theta. We see that a lot for the angle. And let's have a look at this angle, and we've got a side that's next to the angle and a side that's opposite the angle. So the one that's opposite the angle, so look straight across here, it's opposite, we're going to call that O for opposite. Okay, so this one's opposite. That one's quite straightforward. Now we said the other one was next to, and we're going to use a word for next to called adjacent. And we're going to use O for adjacent. Okay, so we've got O, A and H, and from that we have this. Now don't get too confused if it's the first time you've seen it. It's sine, opposite, hypotenuse, cosine, adjacent, hypotenuse, and tan, opposite and adjacent. These values we can get from our calculator in a minute, and there'll be a further video on how to work these out. And the sine and the cosine and tan are just ratios depending on how big the sides are. But most important is you label the sides. Let's have another look at another triangle. And this time I'm going to put the angle here. Let's just move this triangle across. Okay, so now we must know that this is H. It has to be H because it's the biggest side and it's across or opposite from the square root. Sorry, the right angle. Here, opposite this, O, and this side is next to it, A. And we have that again, and that's going to come into play a lot later. So basically for now, just understanding how to label the sides of the triangle.